Okay, quorum of the Lake Boon Commission being present, calls meeting to order, 7:30, plus or minus. We have a short agenda. For those of you who may be watching this on delay, or those of you sitting here tonight, it's the pretty basic outline. Public comment, meeting minutes, pay bills if any, the becoming perennial discussion of bylaw rules review, anything that we want to bring up for new business, and date of next meeting and adjourn. So I have copies of it, but that's what it says. So we start with public comment. Again, usually ask that it be, if there's some new business or something you would like to bring to our attention that is not on that agenda that I just went over, something we might want to consider for next time. Anybody have anything? Once, twice, okay. Meeting minutes.
Yep.
I want to thank Chris again for her excellent job keeping up with us each meeting, doing the meeting before it. It's
So this is from
great.
June 28th. These are
Meeting
minutes
on
from
June 28th. So for discussion purposes, can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion on it? Comments, questions? Okay. All in favor, minutes as approved, as submitted?
Aye.
They're done. Great job. Thank you, Chris. Any bills?
Yes, I have two. First one is Solitude, and I should have copied that, but didn't. But that's the Hudson, it breaks down into those two numbers for Hudson, and
And this is,
it's the ongoing contract.
that's a small number. What is this?
I asked Andy to come tonight, and he didn't, so, but it's the ongoing services contract that we have with them.
They don't normally bill by the month. You know what this is for?
It's the ongoing services, it's in the bigger contract, and they don't bill by the month, but they bill by the season, so to speak. I expected it, but I haven't been following it closely to tell you exactly what it's for. That's what Andy's for, and he's not here tonight, but I know it's a legit bill.
How much is it?
I hate paying bills that I don't, if somebody asks me, what did that pay for? I can't answer it.
It says it on it.
It
It's
says Lake and Pond Management Services.
right,
That doesn't tell me,
which is what we've contracted with them to do. So what you're asking me is what are those services, and that's in the contract.
does the contract specify that for the month of July, they will bill $21.94?
The contracts, I don't have it with me, don't I? The contract does specify that at certain times, a certain amount's due out of the total contract, yes. I don't have the contract with me, so right now I can't tell you exactly.
Any chance,
Except I did expect that.
is there any chance that
I
Andy
have
will
to
show up
Andy
in
will,
our meeting?
I don't think so. Unless he changed
Do
his
you have any
mind.
comments on
Well,
my
yeah,
comment?
without knowing, I guess maybe we should have, maybe I should get a copy of the contract, so that we have that with us for, as things come in. Because if it's a planned milestone,
I think
then
it is.
that's fine, but I don't know that that's a planned milestone, and it sounds like you don't either.
So it's a motion. Do you feel comfortable paying it? But it'll be credited toward
Yeah,
the overall anyway. But if you could tell Andy, ask Andy, please.
I just did,
Not about tonight necessarily,
yeah.
but whenever there's a bill, it would be good if he were here, he could answer questions or
Yeah, well,
provide a note or something.
I did.
Well, yeah,
But
I
he
know,
didn't.
it's,
He
yeah.
was supposed to be here tonight, that's why I didn't do more.
Okay, so
right.
I make a motion to pay the $2,194 to Solitude for the amount of $731.34 for
24.
Hudson
Oh, okay.
and $14.62 for Stowe, with the understanding that this is a contracted milestone payment.
Yeah,
You want to second that?
I'll second it.
But just put note in the minutes that we'd like to have.
Yep.
Yeah,
Number one, you
I
should.
just sent him a note.
Yeah. If we could get a copy of the contract would help, as Chris suggested. And what-
Yeah,
anytime there's gonna be something coming up, if he can't make it, maybe
Yeah.
give us a
good idea.
note about it.
The contract, Andy has a copy. I thought I gave you an electronic copy. I'll see if I can remember to do that. Also, Wrigley has copies, but I have an electronic copy, so does Andy.
Okay, maybe electronic and maybe a paper type for those of us who don't do a lot of electronic things. For next time, okay. All right, motion made and seconded, total amount $21.94, broken out as Chris pointed out and spelled out on this document. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And
So
do you need original signature on a copy or?
No, she'll take a copy of a signature. At least she has so far.
Okay, I'll copy this after the meeting, as usual. I'll get 2 copies.
Okay. That's one deal.
I'll sign that one. Let's put it back over here, so copy later. Please.
And the only other bill is patrol boat gas for our boat. That's 2 tanks.
So, paying for boat gas, total amount $42.07. Motion on that. You can do it.
Okay, I'll make a motion. You reimburse me for the gas for the patrol boat in the amount of $42.07.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On the subject of bills, for 1 second, so we're done with that one, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So Julie submitted the bill to Hudson late. Your town accountant.
The bill for the expenses for the previous year.
Right. So our town treasurer was kind of upset, but she said she'd figure out a way to pay it. The trouble is if you submit them late, technically to pay it, you has to go back to town meeting.
Yep.
So for maybe for next year, we could get it a little earlier, it would sure help. It's just kind of an FYI, so you know.
Want to sign this? And, you can sign it. And, give that one of those lawyer signatures. Mine? I never saw that. How can you prove that's my signature?
Well, she's, you know, all the credit cards these days, they don't care what you sign.
No, you don't.
All they want is something scribbled on the pad.
Okay, I'm hoping this, the bylaws review thing, we've been bouncing this around. Death by 1,000 paper cuts for a long time. My own thought is my personal objective tonight is I think we've gotten it focused and focused and focused down And what I'm talking about, the work product, is still only our recommendation to be put out for public comment at a later date. Which would, so for the sake of discussion, I would like to have as a goal, if we can, to finalize our own position on this tonight, rather than come back with, other than maybe just if there's a misplaced comma or something.
Well, I have,
Just a minute, please. And we'll go over we'll go over each of them. But, just as for the evening roadmap, we'll be able to get to a point, if we agree, then we agree. If we agree in total, that's fine. If we go and vote on something, so be it. That's obviously the nature of committee work. But keeping in mind that if we do finally get to the end of the meeting and say, okay, this is the final step in this part of the process, and then we talk about when we move forward for an informational meeting. Keeping in mind, as I've said,
a public meeting, you mean?
yes, public information meeting, as I've said all along, repeatedly, that the structure of that meeting, as I think about it, would be that much advance notice as we can do, not during August, because too many people are away. Laying forth, getting copies on the website, physical copies of it available for places for people to pick up, notice in the paper, all kinds of stuff, so people can't say, gee, I didn't know you were doing this. At that point, present what we have, go over how it differs from the old, we'll call them the 1941, 68 rules, I guess. And listen to any,
They were changed.
and the existing rules. And then, take any public comment, take questions, and if we feel the need to do so, if everybody loves them and says that's fine, that would be one thing, that we could just then have them in hand well in advance to go to town meetings. If we need to come back and maybe rethink our position based on what we hear, it doesn't do any good to say we're going to listen to the public. If we say we'll listen to you, but we're not going to change anything, if you give us good reason to change it. So that's kind of my ideas for how to proceed tonight. That's not substantive, that's procedural. But so you just want to go through
My comments are pretty easy. I don't know about anybody else's.
well, the starting point, I think, because Chris did such a good job of enumerating in the minutes,
Yeah.
point blank, on each one of these points.
Well, that's what version 6 reflects, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah, so this is the one we had in front of us last time, 05.
Version 5, yeah. That's the only one I had electronic copy
So
of before it came.
this was referring to what we talked about on version 5. So version 6 should be this document with these comments or changes. So what I suggest is we go through on the clean copy, because we don't need to keep going back over the things
Right.
that on version 5 that we didn't bring up. So on version 6, let's just go through them by rule number and talk about them.
Okay, so rule 1, we talked about adding something around marijuana.
I spoke to the town administrator about that. I gave a good discussion about kind of the history of that rule generally. And rule 1, basically, this is the one that have possession of a drink of intoxicating liquor. And we suggested last time, and did you agree with me to do that?
Yeah,
Because it's
I-
added in here.
Yeah.
And about adding marijuana, because it is now legal in the Commonwealth as of this month. Certainly, individuals can have it grow it, even though there's no retail outlet around, but that's coming. And for the same public safety reasons that I think our forebears put in, you don't want alcohol influencing boating safety. I think that, I feel quite strongly that our recommendation should include it here.
Do we know what the state rule is going to be changed to? Because the state rule already, so,
It doesn't refer to liquor, it refers to, I think,
BOI.
You know, some intoxicating substance, or it leaves it broader.
So the difference is the state rule penalizes you if you're intoxicated.
Correct.
It's called boating under the influence.
Correct.
But it doesn't prohibit you from having alcohol in the boat.
Correct.
What we have typically done is we've said you can't have alcohol in the boat,
Correct.
which is not really enforced. It's kind of hard.
It's been done with discretion of the
Yes.
enforcement officer. I think probably the only ticket in my memory, well, no, there was one arrest.
Mr. Butler.
We don't need to mention names. One arrest directly, which also tied into this rule. And I wrote one civil enforcement ticket back in the days when I was doing it, when they had a
So,
kid.
I don't think that it matters how many times it's happened. So if we feel as though it's still, there was a reason to say in possession of, originally
Right.
with the intoxicating liquor, if we feel like that is still appropriate, which I do, I think we should discourage the drinking of whether the people are considered under the influence at that point or not, on the lake, then I think the marijuana is kind of in the same class, right? It is an altering.
And that was the recommendation of the town administrator as well.
Okay,
When I asked
so
him
that's
point
helpful to know.
blank,
So,
for consistency's sake. So that is reflected in Rule 1 as we have it in front of us on version 6. Is there any further discussion on it?
so I only have one question.
And then I'll take a question.
So as it was originally written, it says, or have possession of or drink any intoxicating liquor. Is there any reason why we have the or drink? Because if you're in possession, that covers it. I mean, you can't drink it without having possession of it. So it just cleans up the wording.
Yeah, because you're not going to drink marijuana.
No, you're not. So we somehow have to, if we're gonna do the marijuana piece. So to me, if you have possession of an
So
intoxicating.
you're not talking marijuana now, you're talking about,
Both, so it bridges over.
Yeah, what you're saying is, or possession of any intoxicating liquor or marijuana.
Yes, that would be my recommendation.
okay.
Okay, cool.
So
That
we'll
just-
strike
that makes-
or of
Yep.
drink.
Yep.
Are we ready to move on? So I'll take quick questions. We want to try to get through this. but- yeah.
It's, I think you might be limiting yourself by saying liquor or marijuana, and you might want to change it to possession of any substance that alters a person's ability to, because you have people that are taking various kinds of drugs that are out there on the lake, and they're operating under the influence. So it's not just alcohol and marijuana, it's any substance.
So I think that operating under the influence is covered by the state law,
Correct.
regardless.
Yep.
So now what we're suggesting is the possession of what is a legal
Right.
drug
Right.
and a legal drink, right, intoxicating drink, is what we're trying to say, we're putting some dampers on that piece of it. we can't say, you know, we wouldn't want to say, you know, you can't have cocaine out there because it's already illegal, right? And we can't legislate around medications people may take, those kinds of things. So that's my thing is the two things which are legal now
Right.
are the
Okay.
ones that we might want to address.
Well said.
Yes. Go ahead.
2 questions. Does liquor mean beer? Is that-
Any alcohol.
So liquor is any alcohol. And then, are we saying here that somebody can't be driving around on a pleasure boat sipping a beer? Is that, that's what we're saying?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
That exists today in our
Um,
bylaws.
And who's gonna enforce that?
The police enforce everything.
If somebody's like driving at no wake speed and with their family and they're
I
having a beer
can't
on a
answer
Friday
for the
night?
police department.
Okay. Because that's not happening.
I'm saying, in the past, there has been some discretion used about that. That's why I was starting to say there's only a couple of recorded incidents, to my knowledge. So it isn't that, you know, we're not carry nation around here, latter day, and nor do we intend to be. But it's worked well, I think, over the years. It may not always be used, either one of these, but if there is a serious incident, it gives one more tool in the toolbox.
What you just said is, you know, enforcement, you were never going to have perfect enforcement in the lake, nor would we really want it. So what he said is so accurate. If something happens, you back into some of these. And quite frankly, these are $100, I mean, what's a bylaw violation now? $50?
$50 now.
These are $50 fines. They don't really mean much. What means something is the state rules. You know, boating while intoxicated, you lose your license to drive your car. So those rules have teeth in them. Our rules are town bylaw violations.
But I think it says something about the kind of community we want. We don't want to
No
encourage.
trouble with it.
Yeah.
By putting it in there, I think we're discouraging it.
So one question, because of the question about intoxicating liquor, should we just say alcoholic beverage and marijuana? Or is that a
I
more?
think your words just together, you know,
Well, I'm just saying, is liquor, do people consider,
beer, liquor, yes.
yeah, they do? Okay, I'm fine.
That has been enforced that way.
Okay,
The other
I'm fine.
thing, not to shut that off, that's a good comment. You can bring it up again at a public meeting if there's a lot of, if we want to think about it between now and then. Maybe somebody would suggest a good reason, we could come back and revisit it. I said, whatever we're doing tonight is only finalizing our recommendation to a public information meeting, and we can change, you know, slight adjustments or major ones. If we propose something,
Okay.
whatever. Okay, so we're through with number one.
Yep.
Number 2 has a problem as well.
Two. What's number two's problem? We-
He
we had left-
wanted to delete.
Oh, yeah, I would just as soon delete 2, but the problem is where it says, or have possession of any firearm. If you have the right to carry, you're telling me that we're gonna make Lake Boon a place that you can't carry, I don't think that's gonna fly.
Well, I would hope it would fly.
You know, the discharge of the firearm on or over the waters of Lake Boon, that's fine, but the possession gets to be interesting. Way beyond my legal capabilities, but.
But has, again, stare decisis
I'm
from
sorry?
the bench. It has- What's the past practice in legal application been?
Well,
Has it ever been an issue? No.
we ignore it. But if we
Well-
ignore it, why have it?
Again, maybe it depends on the circumstances that we can't foresee. If it's in there and something develops that is untoward, got one more tool in the toolbox. It's been there for 60 years. I'd like to see it stay there. Comment?
I support it staying there.
Yeah, I would remove it just because I think if we get challenged, we'd have a problem, but That's okay.
That's-
Stowe's got lots of money for challenges. I don't think anybody's gonna challenge it, so
So
just a
you-
comment.
You're all right, just to leave it
Just
with
leave
your
it for now.
comments noted, okay? 4, 5, we're all right. Number 6,
Oh, wait, 3, we had something.
hmm?
3,
Oh, 3.
3 we had.
Oh, no, 3 was what he wanted taken out.
Yeah, 3 is the one I said, just eliminate it.
Oh,
That's
so
what-
so
that's-
2 was fine. Right, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I didn't think we had a problem with 2.
Rule
So
3,
3
Yes.
is one that you wanted removed.
that's the no skinny dipping rule, folks.
Well, actually, as
I
we
mean-
go over these and go over these and go over these, you start to see more and more nuances, right? So half of it's a skinny dipping rule, but the other one's a consent rule.
Yeah.
And we've had issue, I don't know about you guys, but we've had issue lately with people coming down from Main Street, walking onto private property and wanting to use the lake.
Yeah. I mean, it keeps it from being, everybody's property being the public beach.
That's great if you could demonstrate ownership of that parcel.
When the
Can you?
person, oh yeah, because when a person put their boat on Dennis's property, Dennis owns that waterfront. No, they didn't, not talking about the
Not the
the other
ramp.
piece. I'm talking about literally walking down on, and at the end of the road, they brought a boat down and they literally put it in front of his garage door.
Well, that's different. Okay, that would apply to this.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're
So-
saying.
So, Connie, are you saying that as you look at this again, you're
Just leave it alone?
thinking, you're thinking maybe we just leave
I
it?
like the second half of it, based on what's been, I've seen happening. The first half of it, it's never enforced.
Well, but if you take it out, maybe somebody's gonna be down there, decide, well, gee, I guess they're encouraging new beaches now.
Oh, we'll get a camera. Maybe.
I don't wanna beat the dead horse, we've talked about it. It's an arcane thing, yes, and we may be made fun of or whatever else, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'd like to leave it alone, the whole thing, number 3.
That would be my vote, and
Okay,
up to Connie whether he still is.
Yeah, I'm fine with leaving it alone.
all right.
But we've always focused on the first half of that rule, and it
Yep.
turns out there's a
Yep.
second half that has
Yep.
some
Okay.
interest too.
Definitely.
Number 6,
All right, so you
again,
were
town,
checking-
yeah, town administrator being as wary, cautious is a better word, as he is on using town council for minor matters. Suggests, and again, he asked me, has it been a problem? I says, it's my recollection being around the lake, I think maybe once there was
We were having
A
trouble with
couple
ultralights for
ultralights.
a while, and that was it.
but no, I think one time somebody, I heard through the grapevine, somebody landed a Piper Cub up there, did a touch and go.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
But again, if at this point, after
I don't care.
this many years, you take it out, somebody may say, by the virtue of the fact you took it out, you are now allowing it, subject to FAA and all the rest. His suggestion, don't touch it, leave it alone.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
I'm good with that.
Question.
yeah.
Rule number 3, sorry, how do you spell therefore? Have an E on the end of it?
We'll worry about.
That's,
Okay.
that's,
Clean up
that's
later.
wordsmithing.
Yeah.
I think you're right, there should be an E, but,
It was not in the original, so
okay, but
whatever.
Okay.
this would be the time to.
Yeah.
And things like that, I would leave, rather than debating them and trying to point them out here, leave it to
Yeah.
your good offices, again, because we can always make one final cut at it after a public information meeting.
Yep.
All right, so number 6 is all right.
Okay.
Number 7, Conrad suggested removing.
And I added a note
Yes,
about
I
this,
see a note,
about
yeah.
marijuana
Yeah.
also, since we've talked about intoxicating liquor on this one. So if we keep it, then for consistency, we would probably wanna, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know this
Renting
rules.
under the,
I don't think Rule 7's ever been used,
yeah.
or we even need it, but
Again, just for expeditiousness, and the fact that nobody's come to us and complained about it. Let's leave it.
All right, so but are we adding
Yeah.
the marijuana?
Yeah, or.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Marijuana, just to be consistent with the first part.
I'm okay with
That
that.
just,
The only thing that I worry about a little bit is if we go to public meeting and public comment, you know, if we leave some of these things in that are kind of ridiculous, we may end up getting a lot of comments on them.
well, that's why we can either react to it, or say that, that's why we get the big bucks. I would rather not presuppose what we're gonna hear
Yep.
at a meeting sometime later, since we have chance to react to it. So number 7, with the addition of the word
Yep.
or marijuana.
Yep,
Um,
9.
Number 9,
And the only thing I think we had discussion about last time was around, we keep it knowing that it really requires the police to enforce it, we can't enforce it.
I'm not sure.
My sense is that we do keep it, because it
Yeah.
creates a lever to deal with some of the, at some point, some of the problem
if something is
areas
really
bad.
really bad. And
Yeah.
it may even be that it's not police, it might be the building
Right.
inspector.
Yep,
Well, but, see, we can enforce this one. And we still have enforcement capabilities.
oh,
We
you're right,
can-
this is not a voting rate.
Right.
We can
You're right,
write,
you're right.
we can write a town bylaw violation.
Yep.
The trouble with this one is finding out who owns some. There's a lot of derelict docks on the lake right now. By a lot, I mean probably a dozen. So I'd leave number 9 in place,
Okay.
and 10, and 11.
Yep. Those- we didn't
10
have
and
questions on
11, we
them.
had
Yep.
no questions. So
Yep,
now we're,
nothing. So we're good on that.
that's the general
Yep.
regs, voting regs.
Okay. So I shifted so there's, the first option 1 on this intro is Connie's, and option 2 is sort of the simplified, that is sort of in sync with what we saw from Fort Pond, I guess it was. So it's just, and I think, yeah, so anyway, I think those are the 2 simplified options.
We have, I'm just thinking now of something that escaped me before. It isn't just general laws, it's the MCRs that are, also the MCRs that agencies are allowed to promulgate under those. So the environmental police have, and I don't have the citation for it, a set of, MCR stands for Mass Code of Regulations. Any agency of the Commonwealth is enabled to promulgate rules. They're saying the general law gives you the broad scope. And then it also says if you're gonna have operating rules that we don't want, we in the legislature can't get into, the agency can do it, and there's a process for doing so, with public comment and everything else. So some of the things that might be enforced might be under MCR something or other, as well as,
So the second version of this covers that. That means
It
it's
does.
governed by the voting regulations established by the state. By default, an MCR is
Yes.
being established by the
That one would
state.
cover it.
It's a state agency. I thought MCRs were part of the general laws. Are you
No.
saying they're not?
no.
But they're in, that's interesting, because when you go to Mass Gov, you read them, they're there.
Yes,
I'm
because,
fine with option 2.
Okay, I'm good with 2. Are you good with 2?
all the way along, we were talking about, we want to point a big arrow to people that, when you say state laws, it's broad.
Well,
We want to point, yeah, I know you're going to get to the thing at the end.
yeah, and we can't, I think it is a bad precedent for us to try to call out specific things.
But Chapter
because-
90B is the vast voting laws.
Okay, so it's where some of the things are.
But
And we're saying that people have a full responsibility. They're a boater, they have responsibility to follow state law.
yeah, which means, that's what this sentence says. This means it is governed by boating regulations established by the state.
All right, I'll give up if you let me put in one word.
Okay, what's that?
Regulations is what I just talked about, MCR. It doesn't say laws. Governed by the boating laws and regulations established by the state.
That's 2 words.
That's 2 words, but you
I'm
only
good
get
with
one.
that.
Which one do you want? The and or the?
Okay.
Laws slash.
That's,
Okay. All right.
And then later, we can throw out, well, later on, Chris has some suggestions on here about the education part of
We'll
that.
talk about
Which
that.
is where we want to emphasize which laws and which MCRs and whatever else. Okay. So we're going with option 2, so we
Mhm.
strike option 1.
So the next one was Rule 1A on speed. So,
Did-
yeah, this was one, our discussion was around adding something around.
About
the
damage
weight, the excessive
caused by
weight,
weight.
property damage, that kind of stuff, just getting at that area. And kind of, you thought that there was.
well, you're already responsible for the wake of a boat, period.
But where does someone know that? What,
It's in the same boating MCRs you talked about a minute ago.
it's in the, it's so, that's what we were just trying to see, is it truly, because I think the only place I've seen it was in the environmental police's sort of summary,
That's
which
you'll-
isn't enforceable.
It
The-
isn't.
You gotta be careful
The
about
summary
that,
isn't.
because I've had that discussion with them.
And we
and-
had probably more definitive statements on that one issue at that meeting
Yeah,
at
I
the Hale
agree.
School than
Exactly.
any other
Yeah,
by
yep,
the 2 people in the green uniforms up there.
yep, absolutely.
Repeatedly,
Mhm.
people kept asking questions different ways to come at it.
Mhm.
And the answer consistently was the boater is responsible for the boat's wake
Yep.
and any damage or safety concerns, I'm paraphrasing,
Yep,
that might be caused by it.
yep.
Yeah, I don't have that with me. I thought I might have, but I don't.
So,
Um,
so.
I
assuming
got
that-
copies at home.
So do we want to, for our recommendation, have in there the addition of the property?
I'd say
damage?
no. Because, what's damage? You're gonna get,
Kind of, she'd like your briefcase to go
can you-
down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
See, it doesn't obstruct our view, so I forget. I'm just doing it, never mind. But I would just leave out that, or the property damage piece. The same thing with everything else. We've lived with that rule the way it's been for so many years. And it's gone.
But we're, I
The only
think-
thing that's different now,
The
frankly,
boats is
is
different.
a handful of boats that I hear more complaints about than, outside of jet skis, than anything else, is the wake boats. And the fact that we had one instance that was reported to us firsthand in another forum of some people being thrown out of a canoe into the water at the dock. That's a public safety issue. But we've had repeated, and I've seen it myself, in the first basin particularly, with just enormous 3.5 foot waves smashing into the property. Any number of people have complained to me about, I put a lot of money into the rock
Mhm.
riprap reinforcement of the waterfront, it's getting washed out, the mortar's washing out, I'm gonna have to redo it.
This is pretty much all Basin 1, right?
That's where I've been getting the complaints, because that's where most of the wakeboarding goes on,
Right.
Yep.
just because it's the bigger area to do it. But I think our argument about it's been there for 60 years, so we don't need to change it, it's a different argument on this one, because there is this new element of situations. And I think to the extent that you reference property damage, if somebody wants to make a case,
If they make a case, that's a $100 fine.
or if it continues, it's a $100 fine every time they do it. If somebody comes in to us, suppose somewhere down the road, somebody came in with photographic evidence. Here's my dock and my waterfront on such and such a date. Here it is at successive other dates. That has, and I have, and along with evidence of boat wash, these things coming in, crashing into it. If you don't have damage in there, say, well, we don't have anything to do with that. I would like to leave it in. Not specify what it is or the wake boats, but so that
That
the
was my,
lives of the
my
safety
recommendation was
public
that
might be
we,
endangered or property damaged.
yep,
Because that covers not just, it covers docks too. If there's something that,
shoreline, docks.
Where my dock is, boats slow down and speed up just for the Narrows. And you get pretty big wakes from that too. And yeah, it knocks the dock around.
Yep.
But it's a lake. That's what happens.
well, it didn't happen
No,
in
that
the course of boats like yours.
particular doesn't throw anything.
No, that's the point. And that's the way boats, that was always the goal of
Different.
people back
Yeah.
in our day, was keep it as calm as possible. But now it's turned on its head. You have the specific
Even,
goal of making the biggest possible wake you can.
For just the wake boats. But I'll tell you, there's some big boats in the lake that make some big waves.
Yeah, there are,
Okay,
it's
there-
not just the wake
And I'm-
boats.
We're not specifying, we're not
yeah.
specifying
I've seen
wake
some
boats. We're just
pretty-
saying, if somebody can prove that there is damage being caused,
Who's gonna write the ticket?
Well, this is a
this
boating
is under
reg,
voting regs. The
so
police
this
have
would
to do
be,
it.
have to be a case that the police
We're
would.
not doing it.
So it would be a complaint presumably to the police, and they
Yeah.
would have to investigate and
So
whatever.
if it's a police issue, and the state rules say you're responsible for your wake, this becomes redundant.
It does if we can,
No, but you
Prove
also
that
can give
it's-
$100 ticket in addition. You don't have to go through a state thing of going to court and getting documents, everything else. You've got it in the bylaw. If you would like to dissent on this, we'll vote it, but I want to get past it. So either you want to be reported as against
Yeah,
it?
I would report as dissent, because my dissent really comes from, I don't want to put anything in our rules that are already covered by the state rules. That's my issue. And it's already covered by the state rules, so that's, if it's already covered by boating regulations as in option 2, then why do we put it in again and further on down? That's my
so,
comment.
so I haven't, if you can, why don't, we'll leave it as we have 2 for, 1 against right now. But if anybody can find where it is in the boating regulations.
I've got it.
I know, so
I've
we
just
don't
gotta
need to
look
do
it
that
up.
right now, but.
Okay, but for
then-
the
then
purpose
we
of
can-
this draft tonight, note
Yep,
his
got it,
exception,
got it.
and we'll leave it in for now, and we'll get public comment
Yep.
on that as well.
So we're on 2. Water skiing.
As this was Conray's suggestion, keep the rule as is and add basins 3 and 4.
Where are we? I'm sorry.
Water skiing in Rule 2. Oh, well, it's 2A. Yeah,
I know, I just
yes,
remember
yes.
it's my
She's
right
got it
spot.
there. Rule 2A.
Yep,
And in the 3rd and 4th basins.
right, so that has been added.
That's the way
That was
it
I left out.
Our discussion
We
last,
just jumped over C and D.
because we didn't have any concerns with them last
I
time.
have concerns over D.
Well,
Oh,
they
yeah, we
weren't
did.
brought up last time.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were. It's
Yeah,
right
they were.
here.
We jumped over it?
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
was it?
Under D,
Oh, there it is, B.
it's in bold, she's got it involved.
Oh,
It's
okay, all
also,
right.
I
My
just had,
bad, okay.
You know, I spend a lot of time on the lake, and the lake has become very quiet, except for very short periods of time these days. And, you know, this whole idea of, okay, you can't go boating on, oh, wait a minute, let's see, Christmas is a state holiday. So we're gonna have a quiet time on Christmas. That's just, the people that use the lake during quiet time stop using it after Labor Day. Maybe not much, but it's basically, when it's warm, we get these activities. As soon as it gets cold, either fall or winter, everything stops, except for a few boaters.
For the past 2 or 3 years, I mean, it was vaguely worded. And the prior commission that we weren't part of agreed, if I'm not mistaken, to interpret that as to mean state holidays. Does that go along with
That
people's?
is currently but this isn't, we're looking at what we want it to be, not what it is.
I understand that.
So yes, but if you go back to 68 is when they extended that and added that other change. So
Okay.
for
So the question is, do we want to stay with what has been past practice for at least 2 or 3 years, or go back to something prior to that?
No, the question is, what do we really want?
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, I'm listening.
I would prefer to specify, keep it the way it is, presently, state holidays. No ambiguity. If there's a climate change and it's 90 in December, we don't have to worry about it. Yeah,
You
go
could-
ahead.
you-
Just a minute.
So,
Well,
as I
wait,
recall,
Wait,
why don't
all right.
we finish our deliberation and then we can have comment?
So you can put me as dissenter on this again, because I firmly believe in quiet time during the summer. The rest of the year, it just doesn't do anything.
It allows somebody who might want to kayak on Columbus Day to do so without fear of high-speed boats, or any other day. There's people out there, anytime there's open water. I even remember your wife boasting about, I've water skied every month except February.
Yeah, we could have done February this year,
Yeah.
except we decided
Yeah.
I wouldn't de-winterize the boat.
Yeah.
But there weren't any kayakers out there.
Okay,
I will speak being not a motorboater, right? And we kayak, you know, we're out there, we'll swim, whatever, but it's an important time to know that it's safe to be anywhere other than just on the edge of the lake. Because truthfully, any other time that we're kayaking right along the edge of the lake. And this is, the quiet hours are the times where we feel like we can go out. So Columbus Day or other times where it's warm enough, it is in fact, it's a nice time for us to be able to be doing that. And it's really the only time we feel comfortable being in the middle of the lake in a non-motorized boat, both as an etiquette, but also as a safety issue. So as a non-motorboater, I certainly support us saying, there's only a few holidays. So saying the state holidays.
There's a lot of state holidays.
Well,
Bunker Hill Day.
that's not a
that's not a state holiday.
That's not a
just
state
it.
holiday.
So
Only
there aren't that
Suffolk
many
County.
state holidays. You really aren't talking about.
Well, the two that affect the lake are Columbus Day and Columbus Day is the big one.
Yep.
Because it's often warm on Columbus Day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when it's dark at 5 o'clock on Columbus Day.
Yep.
too.
And it's only a Sunday for a very short period.
But I hear what you say, but when you're sitting on the shore on those particular days and there's 0 people on the lake and it's warm, it's frustrating for people who say, wait a minute, the lake's being reserved for people who aren't using it. And,
It's being reserved now on Sundays year-round,
yeah,
2 to 6.
right, which is.
We're talking about a handful of more days in time when it shouldn't be too burdensome.
Well, we'll see what the public comment is. I'm getting pushback from people that own boats on that one, so. Because those 2 days are, like I said, those two are the ones of interest.
Which
You
one?
can have New Year's,
Columbus Day and what?
the one in the spring,
Patriots.
Day.
Patriots Day,
Day.
thank you. Patriots Day is, the lake is usually cold on Patriots Day, but the weather is usually good.
All right, you want, I will,
What, did you want
Oh,
to
yeah,
take the
go ahead.
public comment?
Yeah, I think this was, and correct me if I'm wrong, this was all brought to a head, I think, within the past 2 years, but I'm not sure. And I think it was Columbus Day holiday. I don't think it was Patriots Day, but it was a Columbus Day holiday. It was like in the 70s. It was really warm. The water was warm too. And there were a lot of kayakers in the middle of the lake, and there was swimmers. There were people, non-motorized people using the lake. And I was one of them in a kayak, and all of a sudden there were water skiers, and it was a holiday. And I called the police. I said, we need to define these holidays. And that's when it happened. That's when I brought it to the commission. And again, I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, but I think it was
at least
Columbus
2.
Day. Yeah,
2016.
and so that's an example, and it's not like there wasn't anybody out there, Conray. There were a lot of non-power people out there using the lake. So, and I think, it's limited. We have quiet time, it's limited. It's four hours from 2 to 6 on Sundays and holidays. So please, leave it in there. All holidays. And it doesn't matter whether it's Columbus Day or Patriots Day or Thanksgiving or, Christmas. We get to have that time, like Chris said. We want to feel safe out there to be in the middle of the lake and not just swimming up along the sides or kayaking along the side of the lake. And that was an example. And I think we need to remember that and put that in our bylaws.
Dick?
Yeah, I remember that day too, and I was busy out there that time. We may be overthinking it here. I mean, the wording that was unclear in there was it said all Sundays and holidays. It mentioned the 3 main summer holidays. It said, but in holidays including those 3, the word including. So I think if you just mention the holidays you want, those 3, and if you want to add Patriots and Columbus, if that's what's want to be written. But it actually, mass holidays do include, I looked it up, does include Bunker Hill Day. I don't think we want to be shutting down the lake here for holidays that Massachusetts has now or may have. It doesn't relate to our lake. So I don't think it's accurate to say that we currently have quiet times for mass state holidays, nor do I think we want to state it that way. If we just list those 3 or those 5, it seems like it should be a pretty clear and simple thing to do. Even on Columbus Day, we can ski until 2. It just wasn't clear. That day, it just wasn't clear, the
Yeah.
interpretation of the
Yeah.
word including. But if we just take the word including out and either list that day as a day or not list it as a day, then it'll be clear. Right?
Well, I like the idea.
I think all Massachusetts holidays make it pretty clear.
Well, why do you want to shut down for Bunker Hill Day?
That's
That's an extra
whatever it
restriction.
You've got to- you've got-
That's an extra
let's not
restriction.
debate which ones they are, but I respectfully disagree with you that I used to work for the state, and because my office was in Boston, I got the day off. If a state holiday, if a state employee was in Waltham, you worked. So it's not a state holiday generally in the same interpretation.
So-
But
It was listed there.
let's,
So
okay, we've heard comments, we've heard your
wait a
position.
minute, I'd like to comment
Okay,
on
go
what you
ahead.
said. So Dick's point that's very relevant is we should actually list the holidays we want to enforce. Because there's a second issue that's going to come up, and that's the quote floating holidays. It's not a problem on Memorial Day or Labor Day, because those are Mondays that call out as a holiday. But the 4th of July is the state holiday is the 4th. A lot of people observe it on a different day, but it doesn't change when the state holiday is. So,
But I think that's-
If the 4th comes on a Sunday, it's observed on Monday
as
as a state holiday.
But I'm going to disagree with you, because the Boston fireworks, which I've gone to every 4th of July for forever now, is on the 4th, period. And,
Well, that's an that
Yeah,
has nothing to
but-
do with state law.
well,
If the 4th is on a Sunday, it's observed on Monday, people have the day off. It's the calendar will say July 5 is the holiday that day. And you've already got covered, the point is it's back-to-back, Sunday and Monday. Yeah, a few times a year or every other year, that'll happen. Every
the
4
point
years.
is, it's still ambiguous, because, well, I don't know that what you just said is true, that when that floating,
Banks are closed on a Monday, July 5,
yes, that doesn't make it a state holiday.
because it's
It
a
does.
state holiday.
It's a
That's
state
why they're
holiday.
closed.
So I do think that it becomes less clear if we are not referencing that we're observing the state holiday. Now, if, whether we limit it to 4 or 5 or whatever, but if we're not very clear that it's the state designated holiday, then
When it's
people are
observed,
going
it's
to be.
when it's observed.
Well,
Yeah.
they put on a website what the state holiday is. So it's very simple. For example, we posted that on our public launch last time. It's a very publicized thing, and anyone can know that that is the state holiday. So then police know that's enforceable. Voters know, okay, that this is when we can go out. There isn't any confusion, which I think there can be confusion with one that is observed on a different date than the actual holiday.
Right.
So regardless, I think we need to be clear that it is the state designated holidays.
All right, last comment.
And we could we could say the state holidays of, and list out the 4 or 5, whatever, if that's where we want to go. But I don't want to lose the state part of it because it becomes less clear.
So it's two elements, okay.
Yep.
Last comment from the public, because I want to move on. Yeah, go ahead.
They're listed, the Massachusetts state holidays are listed every year. And I think to keep it clean and clear is to reference people to those listed holidays. Now, as has been discussed, I think if we want to limit it to 5 of the state holidays, to keep it clear, I think we have to say state holidays, because people have different interpretations, as Conway has been pointing out. The 4th of July may be celebrated by a town on this day. Look at the fireworks. They were celebrated
Yeah.
by three different dates, depending on the town. But if you go by the legal state holidays, there's no confusion.
They always used to call them bank holidays for a
Yeah.
reason, because banks would stay open
Right.
365 if they could.
Right.
But anyway, so
So I think where we,
just leave the language,
Yep.
state holidays. And that's what you,
well, yeah, yes.
For-
And then
for
I think
tonight.
we'll comment, obviously, that there's still consider that Conway is dissenting on that one, and that we have taken public input already around whether we should designate very specific state
we've taken
holidays.
public input
Yeah.
here.
Yes,
But
I know, we will take more,
by
right.
leaving it that
Yeah.
way, it will generate people to come and
Yep.
let us know what they think about
Yep.
other folks.
yeah. Okay,
Dissent is noted.
Mother's Day's a state holiday. As is
No,
Father's Day.
no, it isn't.
I don't think so.
No.
Here's a list.
What did you say, Conrad?
Mother's Day is a state holiday, as is Father's Day.
Anybody here for St. Swithin's Day?
No, that's not on the list. Veterans Day.
We're gonna move on. With exception noted. For the purpose of this draft. Now, where does that leave? That leaves us back to,
It is done. There's
Oh,
no
no,
more
we're-
real
we
comments.
just have
we
two
had,
more.
we did Rule
2.
2, 3, and 4,
So.
and Rule 3, remove the
Yep,
proportion
that
on
one.
holidays, so it
Oh,
it
Rule
would
3 was.
C.
Rule 3B is the no airboat one. So we are, so right, Rule 2A, I thought we already talked about. We've added in the
Okay,
third
so,
and fourth
yeah, all right,
basins,
so we're
right?
down
So we're
to
okay with that one.
Rule 3B.
And then
Okay,
Rule 3.
airboats are just taken out.
No, C. I think I have that wrong on here.
This is the current, the new one, it should be C instead of,
Oh, that's right. I was up there. Yes, it's correct. B.
3 only has A and B.
Yes, correct,
And B, the only
Yep.
change is taking out horsepower.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. Are we
That's-
okay with that?
Yep,
Okay.
that was okay last time.
Okay. All right. So,
And we'll take note that your document references in the, now there's CMR right there.
Yeah.
All right, there's the reference. When we say
Yeah.
state laws and rules, CMR was promulgated by the Division of Law Enforcement
Yeah.
under the general law authority.
correct.
And then
So
you do-
then,
So-
yeah, and if we dig up anything else, we can add it in as a reference.
Any last comment on that? And then we have some notes that Chris has put on page 4.
So here is my thinking on this, and these are not bylaws, so this is got
This is
nothing to,
more procedural,
right? This
where we're
is saying, okay, we're finished talking about the bylaws and the regulations. There have been things that have come up through public comment and our talk, our deliberations about how do we make sure folks are aware of some of the key things? And what we did at the boat launch was we put a few key things up there so that, realizing some people don't know. So aside from our bylaws, we put some other highlighted things. So my thinking was, and we had gotten feedback from a number of folks, I think a couple of them are here again today, around the education. How do we make sure people are educated, or at least the information is easily available for some of the higher risk areas, some of the ones where that perhaps people, more frequently violate. So what I was thinking is through public comment, through what we're, thinking, we identify those and we highlight those on our website, so on the LBC website, ask the LBA to highlight these on theirs so that it becomes a second piece. There's bylaws, regs, right?
And this is education.
And then this is an educational thing, and we get those, we maybe make them available at the town halls as handouts, or get them at the beach, so that people are reminded of certain things that we want to make sure they know about. Now, most of this is stuff that we did put on the public launch site. Not exactly this way, but we called them out to say, all right, let's just make sure people are paying attention to these things. So.
We did that last year, and the commission
Year and a half,
approved.
Yep. Correct.
Right.
Yep,
They're
and the police.
basically these
Yep.
same elements? Or-
Pretty much, but I mean,
Yeah.
there were some things in here based on some of the discussions we had that I, noted, but life jackets and, so there's just a few.
I have no problems with what you're trying to do. It's an education, I'm all
Yep.
for education. But I can tell you, as a former enforcement officer, how many times I stop somebody and they don't read the kiosk.
I understand.
They don't,
Sure,
so,
we can't,
yeah, because it's like, can you read the kiosk?
yeah, exactly,
And they don't.
right.
They don't.
So we can't, there's no way we could
No.
make people read, but
No,
to make
I'm all
it.
for the educational effort. It's just amazing how much people ignore.
No, I agree.
How many times have we talked about the same issue over and over again between your service period and mine? You might just have one person new in the room, and you've got to back up and say it all over again. There's a number of things
You're talking 50 years, you realize.
between us.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I have no trouble with the
Okay,
educational.
so I think this is really for us to build on a little bit, right? We can, and not to make a decision here, but agree that yes, we should have something that is more educational in nature, that we'll take ownership for. And then some more things may come out of the public meeting and say, oh yeah, people don't seem to know about that, maybe we should add
Mhm.
that. Or, you know, there's more confusion about this, whatever. And just sort of, I'd like for us to kind of commit to, we'll work on having an educational piece that is not part of the bylaws. So are we all comfortable with
But I think we
doing
can
that?
have, when we have the agenda set up for this
Mhm.
review, we can either before or after say, okay, we've had your input on that. These are other things that we want to call attention to. We're not promulgating these, it's just, this is what it is. We want to kick off the educational part of this now. It'll be in the papers, it'll be, get the, whatever, however we want to do it.
Well, these would not be something we're publishing in the paper. This is.
Reference and education.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Because this is just a reminder of what certain laws are, whatever. So
So-
we might talk about that in a public meeting, right, in a public
You gotta be really
comment
careful
section.
in some of this stuff, though.
Yeah, I know, because it's really,
Because the definitions are really squirrely,
yep,
as we know.
yep. I think the only really difficult one is the first one.
Yeah.
The rest are pretty black and white.
Yeah.
So,
So,
so it sounds like, am I correct, we have commitment that we, as a commission, feeling, yes, it is an appropriate thing for us to build out a little bit of education that
I do.
will make
we
public.
always have, I have no
Okay,
problem with that.
perfect. All right.
So does that, Dawn, are we finished with that piece?
We are.
Yeah. so
Okay, so I have an answer for you
On,
on the bill.
Oh.
That is the 15% payment that's due on July 1st for our contract.
okay. Good. Thank you. Timing. I don't, it's been a slow year. I don't see any pressing need unless something comes up between now, this is gonna sound strange, October. So I'd like to suggest
I'm with you, I agree.
we target this, a public meeting. Maybe we should have a meeting ourselves a week before, just to go over who's doing what. And catch up on any bills that might have accumulated during the summer.
So, does
but-
anybody anticipate any bills?
No, but something could break on the boat and you gotta
Oh,
fix it, you might wanna be
Yeah.
reimbursed for
Yeah.
it, whatever.
That's
We can always set one and cancel it if we don't have any need for it.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with October.
But I would say sometime mid-October, avoid holidays.
Which one, state holidays?
Um, So whether you wanna try to pick that date now, or,
I think we should definitely, if we're not going to meet again until sometime in October, then we should pick the date for the public comment session, whatever. Because
Okay.
we don't want to do that with a week's notice, right? We want to give fair, probably a month notice, put it in the paper, whatever. So we need to at least decide on that date now so that we can take action, start to do the right
I think
things.
we ought to do it on Halloween. My personal schedule says that the first week in October I'm gone. So, for our next meeting, do you want to do it on Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday is a good night here, just be,
17th is a good night for me.
and then. You mean for the hearing date? Public information, it's not a hearing, it's public information meeting. There's a difference.
I know.
Is that what you're suggesting for that?
Well, no, I was suggesting our next meeting on the 17th. In reality, we want this stuff done by January 15th next year. So we could meet on the 17th, do the preparation for the public hearing, and have the public hearing not at Halloween, but, first week in November would be fine.
Yeah.
We got an election, national election
That's the
Coming
second
up.
week in November.
on the 6th of November.
Yeah.
the state, the primary, state election, the congressmen and stuff.
So mid-November?
Yeah, week after the election's fine. For the public comment meeting.
That would give us enough time to make sure we got all the ducks in line.
We can
with
meet
our
on the
meeting
17th. And then try to do the public meeting.
November 13.
Sure.
That's a Tuesday? Tuesday's okay, I thought you did,
Oh,
14th is Wednesday.
oh yeah, that's right, because selectmen meet 2nd and 4th.
So the 14th,
Okay, November 14th.
so that's what we're
Right.
targeting. Okay.
That's a public meeting.
Public information meeting. And October 17. Prep and catch up on anything that's happened between now and then.
Yep.
And obviously, if anything happens that we need a meeting in between, we can always
Yep.
call it.
And I'll send soft copy of the updated version, true version 1.0.
And since you're now an expert on posting on the town website.
Yes,
Could you post,
those, both of those.
yeah.
Can I post without an agenda being
It isn't
set?
the legal posting. The
Okay.
legal posting is what goes on the board down here.
Yeah. Yeah, I can put it in the
com-
calendar.
The commission has put on its calendar a
Yep.
public information meeting to go over the results of the recommendations
Oh, I
on,
don't, okay. I can put a meeting thing, event in the calendar. I don't know that I can put a whole, like,
Okay,
description
all right.
of,
just meeting to
yeah, I mean, I can put a
review
meal
rules,
title, right, I can do that.
recommendations of LBC,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
Okay. I guess we've kind of decided there's no other new business. We've taken care of the dates of the meeting. Next item is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Seconded.
And undebatable. All in favor? Aye.
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 Adjourned. 8:44. 8:43.